Thank you for your time today. I'm so excited to have a talk with you. So before we start, could you introduce yourself for just your introduction?
Yeah, sure. My name is Avery Davidson. I just graduated from Boston University, and I'm currently going to be going to the Manhattan School of Music
Hmm.
for my master's degree in conducting.
Awesome.
And yes, I've been in music all of my life. So
So I'm curious, you both majored vocal and conducting in undergrad?
in BU, no, I majored as a Bachelor of Arts in music.
Okay, okay, got you. I mean, loved your voice when we worked together, so I was, kind of curious. You do both, and you're also like wonderful conductor. So, I mean, congratulations, by the way, you get into
Thank you so
MFM.
much. Thank you.
So, my first question is, can you tell me about one of your first musical memories? Was there a moment when you realized music would be more than just a hobby?
So, funnily enough, it is actually my earliest childhood memory when uh, my father is also a conductor and he conducts at these universities. And so he conducts the Duke Symphony Orchestra at Duke
Mm.
University. And then his part-time job is up at Cleveland's in the Cleveland Institute of Music, where he
Nice.
conducts the
Mm.
big operas that they
Right.
do, the big opera productions. And so one time when I was little, about 3 years old, I was against my mother's will because
Mm-hmm.
she thought I would be a nuisance.
Mm.
I was brought to dress rehearsal of the magic flute that
Mm.
my dad was doing at the time. And, I remembered that I was running around the auditorium quite a bit because I was a runner back then. And all of a sudden, the rehearsal started and the first E flat chord hit. And I just remembered, um, I completely stopped. I didn't move
Mm-hmm.
for that whole first act.
Wow.
So I remembered the rapid thoughts I had in my head of, this great sound, people on stage telling a story, and I just thought, wow, my dad's really cool.
Mm.
So I
Wow.
after that I went up to him apparently and said, "You know what, Dad? I want to be just like you when I grow up."
Mm.
And and he asked, "Well, why is that?" And
Mm.
I said, "Well, because look what you get to do. All this stuff just flows from you, and you just get to dance to the music, and that's all." And so he, of course, laughed at that and said, "Well, son, you have a lot to learn." But ever since then, that was where I was just sucked into this world and
Mm.
um never left it.
So since then, you start learning instruments or learning how to sing, or how was it?
So I first started with piano, and even though I don't study much privately anymore, I
Mm.
still keep it up. But piano was my first instrument, and the cello was my next. But by the time of COVID, I dropped it because then I started getting into singing more around
Mm-hmm.
that time. And singing for it's kind of weird because singing is the thing I've done the least, and it's the thing that I've also done most professionally. For instance, I just was in a gig in Cleveland, Ohio, where we were doing a modern opera called Blind Injustice, and I was part of the cast. So this has always been in the front now
Mm.
for later high school and then all of my undergrad years.
Wow, wow. So like naturally your musical journey is growing out.
Yes, yes, but that's the thing. Music, it truly has so much one could do in it. So
Right.
and it's incredible that there's no one
Mhm.
sole path in it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So just curious, what made you to choose to study at BU?
So in many ways,
Mm,
I've always kind of wondered that myself. But
mm,
I saw Boston
mm,
really. It was mainly about the city.
mm,
And so, I definitely wanted to be in a city. I knew that where music was definitely a central part of it.
mm-hmm,
Boston is that. So I also wanted to be in a school where I could branch out maybe and learn some different stuff like languages. I really
mm,
like learning languages. And that also helps as, when one is conducting opera. So one can make sense of the text
mm,
themselves and not have to rely on so many dictionaries
mm,
because um it's just better for one to have that all worked out from
mm,
oneself, what it really means, and how you can interpret the text and how that can inform you
mm-hmm.
through the music that portrays that text.
Right.
And yeah, that this I definitely wanted at first a more general education, and
Gotcha.
it seems like BU
Mm,
had that, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
When I was choosing schools.
Oh, I see, I see. Wonderful. So you mentioned that language. Is there a moment you remember when you realized that gestures was language and that the orchestra could read you?
Sorry, would you repeat that question?
Is there a moment you remember when you realized that gestures was language and that the orchestra
Yes.
could, yeah, yeah, gesture.
Well, yes, it's a it's a weird kind of sign language. Uh, one of the things that a lot of these conducting workshops that I've been in or mentorships have taught me is that the best way to rehearse is
Mm,
not to speak, it's to show. And
I see.
this was something that was harder for me to learn and still is something I'm learning,
Mm,
and I think it's also one thing that um a conductor doesn't stop learning. It's
mm,
kind of, you know, yes, you get better at it over time, but also there may be new ways of expressing certain things. Even my father, sometimes I see him do
mm,
something that I would have never um, thought of him to do before with a
mm,
certain piece that he's done many times, or
mhm,
this kind of thing. And also gestures have a lot to do with the group you're working with
mm,
specifically, because there may be certain gestures that a professional orchestra would get, whereas a student orchestra wouldn't. So you also have to be conscious of the people you're working with
mm,
for these things. Yes.
right. So when you step on the podium, what story are you trying to tell? Of course, not just the music, but through your body and breath and presence. Like how would you do it?
Well, it's always about what the music is,
Mm-hmm.
plain and simple. I mean, because I mean, my job
Mm-hmm.
when I go up on the podium
Mm-hmm.
is um well, it gets easier actually because the rehearsal process is definitely the most important thing the conductor has to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um Not only the studying beforehand, but then the actual rehearsals with the group.
Mm-hmm.
And that's almost the conductor's time to perform because certainly then all eyes are on you. But when it's concert time,
Mm-hmm.
it's really the performance of the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, you kind of do give up give up your some of your, not power. That sounds a little too controlling, but some of this control
Mm-hmm.
um to the orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore there's this balance that needs to happen during a
Mm.
performance. Like, yes, I'm here to help, I'm here to lead, but I'm also letting you be the main center because you are the ones producing the sound at the end of the day. And so I think the story really is reflected by what the sound comes out. And so my job would be to help, um, uh, make out the sounds for the audience to hear and for the orchestra still to be cohesive together
Right.
and following all the things that need to happen in the score.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. As I'm hearing you, you're not just a conductor, you sing, act, play piano, like cello. How do these other disciplines inform your conducting? Impact on your conducting? How does that work?
Yes, of course. Piano in many ways is kind of like a mini orchestra for your fingers. So that always um has and still does inform me. Cello, my time with cello, even though I don't play anymore, it certainly helped me learn the an orchestral instrument. That I mean, I think as a conductor, you certainly should have some experience playing an instrument, especially an orchestral instrument, to know what um to especially know what to say to that group. Now, I never really played a wind instrument. I had a little sojourn in um middle school where I had to play the euphonium for middle school band, but that was barely anything. But these things of just learning what your colleagues have to do will also help inform you as to what to say or what to show, really. Um, you know, with bow, um, there are so many different strokes. Bow, of course, as you know, and there are so many things about uh how it can almost mimic the human voice through this very legato, sweet sound. Especially, I always considered cello to be the instrument that mimicked the human sound the best with string. So that was it was important for me to learn it. At the time, I didn't really enjoy learning the cello just because I I hated being exposed with this instrument because usually you have the melody in chamber, not very well, yes, in chamber, but also of course in solo rep. I didn't really like learning the cello solo rep. I loved listening to the cello, but I did not like playing it. But anyway, yes, cello helps with that. And singing, of course, I always, when I don't know exactly what to say, because sometimes conductors can have trouble figuring out what to say. So they go on this long rant and it takes up too much time in a rehearsal. And so what I say sometimes is just play this line as how you would sing it. Because how you would sing something can really help inform your playing.
Right, right.
And sometimes I even sing a phrase or a line for the orchestra to explain what I want rather than speaking so much. Words can only do so much. So this uh ability that I've been learning over the years to sing has really informs me on also how to phrase a line and making sure, especially with legato phrases, that there's a continuous connectivity.
Right.
Yeah, this all influences that.
Right. Wow. So you have so much like musical talents like are given. Wow. So how do you juggle this, intensity of like conducting, studying, performing, and building something from scratching all as a student? How was it? I'm curious.
How was it to build my orchestra? You mean?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I wanted to ask you that too. So how'd you, found this like Revolutionary Orchestra, right? The name, and what was the idea come to you first, and what was the very first step you took to make it real, and how does the work all these many roles with on your own?
I mean, primarily it's a passion for what I do that
Mhm,
keeps me going, and almost kind of a cliche answer, but it's true. I mean,
mhm,
my life has always been kind of dedicated to music.
mhm,
So I just keep doing it, really. It doesn't feel like a burden. Sometimes it does when, you're not working with the right people, or, outside circumstances that one sometimes can't control.
right, right.
When when everything is just on your terms of working with the right people,
Mhm,
uh, and either or just working by yourself, of course, because a lot of
mhm,
it's private study. One can feel rejuvenated and
mhm,
uh, have your energy tank filled
mhm,
mm, to the brim with how much there is to discover
mm,
about music. I mean, even going to places like here, like in
mhm,
Leipzig,
mhm,
where Bach was for most of his life. I mean, that kind of thing also can help just make you keep going.
mm,
This visiting these sites, knowing these composers. It really affected my dad and me when we went into the Thomaskirche, the
mm,
St. Thomas Church here.
mhm, mhm.
That's that's where Bach is buried.
Right, right.
So that was a very moving experience for the both of us.
Mm,
Even last night, I took a little walk, and um, there's a statue of Bach right outside that,
mm,
and so I just sat out there and I listened to Bach, and so I felt close to him in a way while I was listening to his music, and that in itself was just kind of a cool
mm,
experience that again was very rejuvenating.
right,
Uh,
right.
yes, that helps me keep going, and I always say musicians should definitely have three traits, which is passion, rather than just talent, right?
Mhm,
Which is passion, um, and discipline.
mhm,
Of course, we have to work at what we do. A humility. There has to be a humility to these composers, what they have given us. I mean, for especially my dad and me, we always say, what will we do without the great Bach? And
mhm,
so, or what we'll probably be saying when we go to Austria soon, what will we do without the great Mozart? What will we do without Beethoven? All these things.
mm,
And so, that there has to be an approach where um, it's fine. It's fine to be confident in this business. You need a level of confidence, but as too much ego, where you make the performances about yourself rather than the music,
mm.
that's not, because then it's not real to the music.
Very good point.
At least that's what I believe.
Mm,
And so, um, this is very important, at least for me. So then you asked another question. I'm sorry. Oh, the orchestra.
yes, yes.
Yes. So the orchestra, I went to BU knowing that I certainly wanted to get conducting experience, because I
Mm,
I knew with my degree at BA in music,
mhm,
there are not really many undergrad degrees for conducting.
mhm,
And so I knew that, I had to get experience somehow during the year, because
mhm,
otherwise the only experiences I would have had would be in the summer. And well, even for the summer, you'd need audition tapes
mhm,
um, for some of these programs. So I had to get something up. And at first, I went into it saying, I'm going to set up these huge, huge, huge projects of, doing masses and all of that. And I was, then I
mhm.
figured out how hard it is to set up a project.
Right?
And, I eventually got it to a point where there were quite a few people who wanted to volunteer
Mm,
uh, for this orchestra. It just started out as about 9, 10 people, and then
Mm-hmm.
grew further than that. And the last concert we did, which was November 22nd of last year, that was almost 40 people in the orchestra, and we were able to do um, a full concert. We did two symphonies and a piano concerto.
Oh, which
Uh,
composers?
Mozart. So we started with the Mozart Paris Symphony number
Mm-hmm.
31. We did the fourth piano concerto of Beethoven, and then the fourth symphony of Schumann.
Wow.
And uh, this this was definitely a triumph for the orchestra for sure, and
Mm-hmm.
for that project. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, there were a lot of scheduling conflicts and time conflicts where we couldn't do anything for the spring semester, but
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to work at it more. In
Right.
fact, we could get back on that, but um, we're trying to work on it more for this coming semester. Yeah, and I would still take the train back and forth from New York.
To Boston.
Yes, to Boston.
Wow. To keep this orchestra. Wow.
Well, I
Okay.
promised them I owed them one more semester.
Yeah.
So yeah, so at least for this coming semester, this will be something I try to do, but we'll see.
Wow. That's wonderful. So, um, you were the director of the orchestra and conductor. So, how did you build this community, like, one by one, and even I imagine you need to book the venue, you need to schedule all these players. You manage all of this.
Yeah, yeah. At first, yes, it was just me. Now, well, that's actually not fully true. I had or I still have a friend at the BU. I don't know if you met her. Lana Crossan is her name.
Lana Klaus.
Crossan?
Person?
Yeah, she is a violinist.
Maybe first name is familiar.
She was in my year, but she's the younger sister of Julia Crossan.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
No.
I've met her. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, then so Lana I knew from my oral skills classes. I'm never gonna miss those. But I got to meet Lana through that, and Lana I knew she was a violinist, and so I asked her, do you want to start this thing with me?
Mm,
And she said sure. And so I mean, we talked, and I got more people involved, and it was a very small group at first, and
mm,
that was fine. I mean,
right,
uh, it's better to aim higher than you will get in the
right.
immediate time. So
Mm,
it all worked out for a good
wow.
kind of project.
Nice,
But
nice.
but as time went on, you get more connected with the people around you,
Right.
and you also can ask those people to ask other people,
Mm,
for them to come join. And then you even maybe get a connect that has a friend from another school. So, for
mhm.
instance, I got some students from Boston Conservatory to join.
Ah,
Even there was a horn player from New England Conservatory who joined.
mm,
And so, this it's a lot about connections too, and whom you know.
right.
And yes, about the locations and all of that. I mean, for a while we just had to do it in the those back ensemble rooms, CFA. But our first concert where we were an actual nonprofit,
Mm.
because we made the shift from volunteer to nonprofit, was that was at Marsh Chapel.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, hopefully it only keeps going up from there.
Right, right, right. Wow. I mean, I still remember, you're always open to work with your colleague and peers. So I was very happy to work with at the moment. So your openness, friendly, like response and react each other, and like those kind of like your like warm character. We really embrace each other and work together was so like memorable for me too. So yeah, so I mean, so happy to hear that you know create this wonderful revolutionary orchestra, and then you really start from scratch to put your all effort on this beautiful community, and really I hope you have like more and more inquiries and concerts will be flourishing in the future.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, of course, I couldn't do it without the players and those who started joining in more administrative matters. And,
Mhm.
you know, I couldn't even have done it without uh, Professor Cuello
Mm.
because he became a mentor for this
Oh,
project.
oh,
And
that's
and
sweet.
so yeah, it was very and also my uncle even donated to the orchestra, and so this really was a very enlightening and uplifting
Mm.
experience that
Yeah.
of at BU, which
Yeah.
I am grateful for that, and um also I remember, even though certainly I was nervous that night when we did that concert,
Mhm.
I remember feeling like, this I had that feeling again of this is certainly the kind of thing I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it is very rare to see someone who's still undergrad, but going for your passion is very rare. So I think you're a very special person, and I mean, I see it. So I was so happy to see you. You were doing wonderful things in Boston, and now you're going into master's degree for conducting is which is amazing. Wow, incredible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, New York City is another, like amazing.
You have you been around New York much, or?
Of course, I study at Manis.
Oh, you studied at Mass?
Yeah. So, and I used to live New Jersey and work and study in New York City for 10 years, 11 years. So I know well.
Yeah, and for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So did you stay around the Manhattan district then, I guess, most?
Yeah, yeah. And my husband's studio was in the Midtown for a long time. Yeah, so yeah, and usually I was around there for study and work, and I also create my own association and do the concert series in those area, and I met a lot of amazing musicians that you will, so you will be more excited to meet new people, new amazing talented musicians and artists, even more than that. Yeah, so I'm so excited to hear you two go there.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad also I know somebody who knows the area well, because now I can ask you questions.
Oh, of course, of course. Anytime, ask me. I can, answer the questions as much as I can. So far, do you have very important mentors?
Yes. I mean, the number one, and maybe most obvious one is my father. I mean, of course he's my dad, so maybe that's just a little biased. But it really has been wonderful to have that kind of figure in my life. Anyways, I was lucky,
Yeah.
and his background is
Mm,
nothing like mine, even because he didn't grow up in a musical family.
mm,
Um, he kind of started that all on his own,
mm,
and um, mom also was also a strings teacher and
mm,
a violist, but she taught
mm.
at
Wow.
public schools in
Mm-hmm.
in where we lived in North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina. And so yeah, this was where I grew up, but my father always stood as this um kind of uh idol for me. Yes, I
Oh.
even though he's not much in the professional ring, because
Mm,
his real passion is teaching in many ways. He likes
mm, mm,
uh passing the his knowledge and all of this music
mm,
down to his students because he knows that as it has enriched his life greatly, it would enrich the lives of others as well. And I love that sentiment. That sentiment I always carry, which is, it truly is an enriching thing, and
Mm-hmm.
to share that with whomever, whether it be the orchestras you work with, the soloists you work with, or the composers, or uh the um singers, or anybody really, or the audience. That was really what I was trying to say. I mean, if they can take something from that, then I know I've done my job.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Then your favorite composers are Bach?
Bach for me, it's a funny thing. I always say that Beethoven is really my favorite composer,
Mm-hmm.
but I still recognize Bach to be the greatest in a way. So, I personally just adore Beethoven and how revolutionary he was. And, the true composer for humanity,
Mm.
in some ways he is the most grounded composer that you get, and because a lot of the people before that, of course, are such focused on sacred music that has to do with the church, and yes, Beethoven really, even in his masses, there's this sense of real um groundedness and speaking from humanity, the human quality.
I see, I see.
And so that always resonates with me. But, I mean, what Bach did uh in his lifetime is miraculous. I mean, when working here, having to compose a cantata every week for every service, even if he has to reuse a certain chorale,
Right.
nonetheless, it takes you away, it just
Right.
you're so taken back by that.
Yeah,
And they're because they're all masterpieces. They're not,
mm,
you don't feel like they're, just quick, okay, just gotta write this down, now gotta copy it all down, now gotta give it all to the players, and
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty miraculous, yeah.
Right, right. I agree. I totally agree. It's, more studying on Bach music, more I know, like I admire, like his life and music more and more. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, wait, yeah, I'm sorry. You were asking me about also my influences.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad being one, but also I say this in conducting, for somebody who's more popular,
Uh-huh.
Herbert von Karajan. And this conductor,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for me, has always been, yes, there is a sense of a little bit too much of look at me when you watch these videos that he himself filmed, and he was very much a control freak. He wanted cameras looking at him from this angle. Of course, the whole eyes closed thing. His way, if you just listen to him
Mm,
on a recording, his way of balancing sound and achieving sound, um, is truly inspiring. Um, I think, it also depends which piece he's doing, but especially with Richard Strauss, you know, he and the Berlin Philharmonic had great sound through that. Uh, you just wouldn't want to hear anybody else do the Alpine Symphony, for instance, because he just could, with that over 100-person uh orchestra, he could still just rein them in and make them so cohesive, and also you can hear such beauty from this colossal piece. Um, and even pick out sometimes there are even chamber elements to this piece. And so, just hearing that and his work of balance. So his work with singers is pretty inspiring too.
Mhm.
If you see him rehearse with singers,
Mhm.
he tells singers sometimes to sing Wagner as this phrase of Wagner as you would sing it in Die Winterreise. Meaning, you know, don't a lot of people go into Wagner saying, okay, I need to have this huge voice and I need to just sing everything loud and
Mhm.
powerfully. And but his point was, sing it as you would sing any other line from a lied,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
from a song that really um, has that same legato, that
Mhm.
same continuity that one would like to rather hear too. No one wants to hear just being hit over and over and over again by big notes. They want to hear, a line. I
Mhm.
think that's very true. So I like these notions that I can pick up from certain conductors like
Right.
him.
Right.
This is important.
Right. So you mentioned the Berlin Philharmonic, so it reminds me of another questions. So you've mentioned the Vienna or a Berlin Philharmonic as a dream boss. What do you stage represent to you, like personally and musically?
Sorry. I just
Mm.
knew it was very dark in here. Better?
Yeah, better, much better. I didn't know that you.
Yeah, I didn't know until I looked to my right.
Okay. I didn't know you had a light. No, no worries.
Sorry, your question
So
was.
you've mentioned, I mean, you reminds me on another questions. You mentioned that the Berlin Philharmonic, so how you inspired by this conductor. So I think I remember you mentioned that the Vienna or Berlin Philharmonic is a dream goals. What do you those stages represent to you, like personally and musically?
Well, in many ways,
Mhm.
in some ways it's kind of my perfectionist side. Um, that would be maybe by that time satisfied. I'm not
Mhm.
sure,
Mhm.
but it's because, of course, uh, those orchestras can play about anything just perfectly, and I feel like in many ways by that time, a
Mhm.
lot of my ideas in music that have developed and
Mhm.
my overall musicianship
Mhm.
would grow to the point that I would be able to maybe have a chance at working
Mhm.
with them and getting that kind of um, maybe not perfect, but that great sound at least that I imagined in my head and want to translate out there.
Mm.
Now, sometimes, you can still get that from orchestras who are not like the Vienna or Berlin Philharmonic, those
Mhm.
very top tier orchestras. You can still get a lot of good stuff. And I'm grateful for what I've gotten even out of
Mhm.
my orchestra that I started. But of course, with those kinds of people, they take things just like that. It would it would it would be a pleasure. I just
Yeah.
know for a fact that even if I get there and then I say, okay, maybe this isn't all what I thought it to be.
Right.
I know for a fact, at least I would say, well,
Mhm.
at least I had the pleasure of doing this.
Mhm.
And maybe my goals will change over time. I have no idea. But that's
Right.
kind of always been my main goal is
Yeah.
to conduct a great professional
Mhm.
orchestra. You
Right.
know,
Right.
yes, those may be examples, but they're, they're nearly impossible to get to, of course. So,
You never know.
you don't. Not knowing is a part of this journey. So
Right, right. So you've worked with orchestras and mentors in Miami, Berlin, and Tuscany. What's a lesson you learned abroad that changed you?
I I'll never forget in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and um this guy who runs the program down there, his name's Mark Gibson,
Mm-hmm.
and Maestro Gibson he his reputation sometimes has people worrying because he is somebody who teaches a lot through tough love. So he will scold you in front of an orchestra and
I see.
embarrass you
I
in
see.
front of everybody, you know. If he sees even that you have not marked your score with harmonic analysis and bar
Mm,
analysis. If he
I see.
sees that and you're up on the podium, he'll take you right off. And he will
Okay.
say it in front of everybody, like, you didn't do this. Why? Get out. He's cutthroat,
Wow.
basically. And so, you know, I was certainly nervous when I went down there at first
Mm.
because many people were telling me before I went down there, "Oh, Gibson, really? Good luck."
Mm.
This idea of needing good luck for going, especially to Gibson,
Mm.
that was terrifying for me.
Mm.
And then I got there, and you know, I went up there and conducted. I think it was the finale of the Prague Symphony. He came up to me, and I had no idea what he was going to say. I thought he was going to say something like, "You shouldn't be doing this at all." But he came up to me and he said, "You know, I saw you up there, and I have to admit,
Mm.
I I'm surprised." He
Wow.
said, like, I'm I'm uh I'm pleasantly surprised,
Mm. Wow.
and so this then eventually grew into a wonderful friendship.
Mm.
Um, because we still write each other from time to time, and
Mm.
actually, I even auditioned at Cincinnati, but unfortunately, circumstances weren't right, and
Mm.
um, I think I also just think being in New York is a better
Mm.
experience in a way
Mm.
than being in Cincinnati
Mhm.
as just cities. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. He at one rehearsal, I was not having the best day, and you know, I was kind of beating away at the first movement of Haydn 99
Mm.
and not really doing anything. I wasn't fully there. Why?
Mm.
Because um I was having some problems back at home
Mm.
and was affecting me
Mhm.
in the rehearsal. If you've just had arguments with somebody,
Mm.
that can be affecting in your mind. But he stopped me, of
Mhm.
course, and he said, "Do you like how it sounds?" No, like,
Mm.
no. And he's like, Do you notice that the violins are rushing?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "And you're not doing anything about it?" I'm like,
Mm.
"No." And so, I just remember I was like, "Damn, I lost it." And
Mm.
so I went up to him after that rehearsal, of course,
Mm.
and apologized. I said,
Mm.
"Yeah, I'm really sorry. Like, and he said, "It's okay. Like, are you fine?"
Mm.
Yes. I was like, "Yeah." And I told him what had happened,
Mhm.
and he said, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but let me show you something." So he brings me up to the podium. Everybody's gone by this point.
Mhm.
It's just um, he and I um, in this synagogue hall together where we were
Mm.
performing,
Mhm.
and he said, "So, Avery, once you walk through that little space that you have there, and you
Mhm.
shake the concert master's hand, and then you get up on the podium, you are walking through a portal,
Mm.
and that portal is leaving behind that real Avery, um, whatever is happening in his private life, whatever is pulling him down, all of that leaves once you get up on there. When you get up on there, you are the conductor,
Right.
and that is your job, and you
Mm.
cannot sacrifice that for anything else. Because, I mean, well, as even he explained, he said, all the orchestra is going to see. No matter, you may have some friends in the orchestra, you may have some friends in the audience. You have me as a friend. But you need to understand that many of these people don't know you,
Mhm.
and therefore, what they only see is a bad conductor. They will only see, the orchestra will only see somebody who's not fit to lead them,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience will see somebody who's not doing much to help the music at all, who is giving them a boring performance and a waste of their time and money. This you all need to, I get that you may have problems, but this is a way for you to be less, in many ways, less selfish, even more humble towards this music, because you're leaving whatever personal crap you have behind, and
Mm-hmm.
you're bringing your very best to your work.
Right.
And that was something I needed to learn by that
Mm-hmm.
time. I was glad that I had somebody who was as tough um and hard as Gibson was,
Mm-hmm.
or as Gibson is, to tell me that. I was very thankful for that. Even though, yes, I was embarrassed, I was
Mm-hmm.
very disappointed in myself. I
Mm-hmm.
was even kind of angry at myself. I couldn't have been more thankful to have gotten those wise words so early in my career before I made a mistake in the future where it could have been even with a graver consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Wow, that's amazing lesson.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I even learned it much from this episode.
Really.
Yeah, I mean it's really great lesson to how you has to be have to be a professional, when you in workplace, when you're at your workplace. So I mean, because we're a human being, and because of that, we sometimes very vulnerable and emotional. But then when you have to work as a professional, then you must be right. But then
Yes.
it's just as human beings. So sometimes you know may make the mistake, but um you know the consequences through your work, you should realize that too, how you be in that moment as best
Yeah.
as you are. Yeah, right.
Well, and also, it's fine to bring some of your own personality.
Of
In fact,
course.
I,
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
in many ways, I encourage that of
Mm-hmm.
anybody and myself, because um, that makes the art that you are putting out authentic
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
to you. But it's got to be controlled. There's in fact, I remember this one time, even remembering in Tanglewood,
Mm.
uh, there was this concert, and it started with the Lohengrin Prelude. The Lohengrin, that opening prelude is so beautiful. Of course, it starts with um, those high shimmering strings,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's very beautiful, but so delicate, and therefore so hard musically,
Mm-hmm.
that one cannot lose focus in that. I saw this conductor, and she kind of was so into it. The music was so emotionally taking over her that she lost the magic that was supposed to be translated from her to the audience.
Audio.
Therefore, the orchestra, of course, it was Boston Symphony, of course, so they
Mm-hmm.
made it just fine, but it wasn't that same magical sonority that you would have
Mm-hmm.
hoped it. So yeah, even just one even can see it from afar as an audience member, if
Mm-hmm.
this is too much taking over uh the conductor, um or any orchestra member, or
Mm.
whoever it may be. There has to be a level of control over what you bring from yourself personally,
Right, right, right.
to keep it faithful to the art. I think that's
Yeah, yeah,
important.
yeah, I agree, yeah. Controlling.
Yes, controlling, but of course, then there's the thing of, you have to find the balance of what's too controlling as
Right,
well.
right,
Um,
right.
because I mean, if you control every single note placement, then it becomes mechanical. So you have to find that uh, cohesion and balance
Right.
of yes, how can I shape this but not make it feel like it's um controlled at every spot,
Right.
that the music also speaks for itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about, when you were working as a conductor, do you see the orchestra as a like hierarchy or a conversation? What does true, collaboration look like in rehearsal?
Yeah, so I mean, there was a very popular belief, especially in the 20th century and even before that, that the conductors kind of acts as this dictator,
Mm,
even, that they,
yeah.
like I said, in many ways, it was a very over controlling
Mm,
notion of just, um, these long, long, long winded rehearsals, extra rehearsals, even being made by the conductor to get completely something perfect. And this is a terrible approach in many ways, because then the musicians don't feel free enough to play in many
mm,
ways. They are constricted, they are bound. And so I think it's from my point of view, yes, I still function as a leader, but I also think in a very psychological way,
mm,
uh, in conducting. You have to let the orchestra sometimes lead you too. Not in the way that the orchestra would lead what you give in gesture, but that they would lead you in the sense of they show you themselves what they can put forward already. And, I mean, this is why the great orchestras of the world don't even need a conductor if they didn't want to have one.
Right.
They're just that good. But, you know, the thing about these orchestras too is they want to even be better than they already do sound. Even though they probably think they already sound the best, they are also saying, well, we want to sound even better than that. That's where you come in as a conductor. I mean, because there has to be one at the helm that, uh, if you want to sound better than you already are as a group, then one person needs to kind of help that. So, yes, the orchestra also shows you things while you, of course, are showing them certain things. I mean, it is a very much a two-way street relationship. Yes, the conductor at the end of the day may be the conduit, may be the person at the helm who translates all of what's happening on the stage to the audience out there, or from the pit and on the stage to the audience, if we're talking about opera. That quality is certainly needed of a I use the word constantly, cohesion. And I mean, because these are certainly that's the kind of thing that needs to happen. It's can't be done without the other. It needs
Right,
to be
right, right.
simpatico between both entities.
Awesome, awesome. So this might be the last question for today. I mean, I wish I had more time to chat, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, maybe next time I can, invite you for another questions too.
I'll be open to that, but we can also write each other too.
Yeah, 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 sure.
What's oh sorry, what's your question?
Yeah. So, do you feel there's such a thing as an American conductor identity today? Where do you see yourself within that lineage?
As an American conductor.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That is something completely new that I've not thought about. I mean, I've thought about, of course, people and their nationalities, but the American conductor. Well, I would say um, there are certain conductors who certainly specialize in American music
Mm-hmm.
and American sound. For instance, one is Leonard Slatkin. In fact, he even said that's kind of his niche is American music. So in that way, if that's the kind of American you're talking about, American as in what's true to America's identity at the moment, I don't know because America's identity right now is so scattered. Um, I don't quite know, but yes, there are conductors like Slavkin who are very much attached to American composers and bringing out their music, Copland's, Barber, that kind of. There are quite a few who do that very well. So yes, that's true to maybe the American, we say almost Americana, right? But the American sound, that true American sound, even my father and I were just watching a movie called Do the Right Thing, and it's this Spike Lee movie that's basically was an allegory of the civil rights movement going forward after the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of it being about the whole US, it's about the neighborhood, the street, the block on Brooklyn where they said it, and it's only constricted to that. But even then, we were noticing in the score itself, written by this guy named I think his name was Bill Lee, but he is the father of Spike Lee, and he composed this very Copland-esque sounding music
I see.
in the score, and very purposefully so, as kind of this representation of this is the typical American sound, or what you consider having to do with the American dream and also the hypocrisy of that. So it's very interesting because you even have that in film scores today. Yeah, that exists all over the place.
Are you also interested in conducting filming, screen scoring like that, like movie soundtrack or something later, or you just focused on just classical?
Maybe at one point, it's not my main goal to screen conducting.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
But I do love film scores. John Williams is one of my favorite composers.
Nice.
So I I'd happily do any of his work, uh, without question. It would just also depend a lot on uh what the film music is and if I can find a connection to it. Because there's some that I can't at all. But if it resonates with me and I know I can actually do it, then yeah, I'd give it a shot probably.
Do you have in mind to performing or giving premiere of living composers' work in the future?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't we do that? Jeanette and I do that with you. That was a very new thing, right? That
Yeah.
oh yeah. So yeah, I have no problem premiering composers' work. Again, I just have to find a
Connection.
connection with it
Yeah.
in order to,
Yeah.
because I don't want to do anything that I don't have a connection with, because then it could be very bad, a very bad performance.
Got it.
So there's got to be something that I can resonate with.
Yeah. Who else your favorite composers or favorite works you want to perform?
It's always been a dream of mine to do Wagner's Ring Cycle.
Ah, I see.
But I want to do that further down the line, of course, not when I'm too young, because um even though I studied that the hell out of all four of those operas when I was younger, I still don't think uh I deserve to be conducting it just yet. So, I think um it's certainly something I want to do in the future.
I see.
That's for opera. And then for the symphonic repertoire, I mean, um one could probably even guess, I spoke highly of the Alpine Symphony, but also a lot of Mahler's symphonies. really love to do. And those even I'd like to do sooner than Wagner. So
Wagner. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for today. And I was so happy to talk to you. And thank you for your
oh,
time.
it's lovely to reconnect.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye bye.